Good morning, you glorious cheese lovers. I am Dave from Games with Dave, and today we're diving curd first into one of the weirdest, wildest, and most deliciously cursed RPG supplements out there. I'm joined by my friend and one of the creators of the Demon Curd of St. Uguzo, Ian McGarty. Welcome back, Ian. If you've ever wondered what would happen if your artisanal goat cheese was laced with distilled evil, then you're about to find out what it would be like. So buckle up. So, dude, how the hell did you come up with, land on a demonic cheese as a thematic, basically core of an adventure?
Oh, sheesh. I'm not even sure. So I think it started with seeing a monastery that was making cheese somewhere. And then it just kind of lingered with me for years. And then so I had demon cheese question mark written in one of my notebooks. That's how most of my adventures started, is the short phrases, like a couple descriptive words that might not mean anything to anybody, just look like crazy scribblings. But it eventually sort of clicked. I like to say, I like to write for a lot of different systems, and I'd like to say that sort of found a system that was appropriate for it. And from there, it just kind of sprouted, from my crazy dreams. But yeah, so it's a mix of Catholic mysticism, with some demon references and yeah, some monks accidentally. I will point out it is accidental in this incursion that happens in the WHPA, early '90s setting. That it is. They're looking for expansion. It wasn't intentional.
Looking for expansion. I love it. So, Saint Uguzo, is that actually inspired by Catholic lore or history, I should say? Or did it just kind of spring out of your unpasteurized imagination? Get ready for the milk and cheese references all through this, dude, because
I'm ready. People will be sick of them by the end. So as in my weird frontiers adventures, the saints you find depicted in these are real Catholic saints. This one is a northern Italian, Alpine region bordering, Swiss saint who was a goat farmer who was cheated and then beaten to death by his master. He's kind of considered the father of ricotta, who made ricotta, but by he would use the cast off pieces
yeah,
of curd of whey that they didn't use to make cheese and turn that into something, and was feeding the poor with it, and it angered his former master, and he was fired, and his master's sheep suffered, and then he was killed by him and became a saint.
wow.
For his miracles of feeding the poor. So weird Catholic history stuff. I mean, this isn't terribly far. We're talking, within 400 years that this was, this theoretically happened, 400 or 500 years. So
That's crazy, dude.
there's a lot of crazy stuff like that around, though. There's, for example, if you ever visit near Mystic, Connecticut, there's a saint's arm in a chapel. Be respectful if you go, obviously, because it is a religious site. But yeah, you want to see a saint's arm, you can go see, just in some quiet little chapel, some withered, hundreds of year old saint arm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Now I've got to make a couple-hour drive south to check this out now, just because I've got to. I mean, now it's required.
I will coincidentally be down there in June, and towards the end of June, for a family obligation thing, and that's my oldest daughter and I are off the hook for some of it. And I'm like, hey, we're gonna go exploring, and that will definitely be a place we're swinging by.
Excuse me. So, the cheese aging caves, the possessed soap, foaming mouth salon patrons. This all feels like kind of, I don't know, like I told you, I laughed and I felt like it was kind of like cosmic horror met Adult Swim, for back of a better term. were there any like specific horror or comedy inspirations behind this?
Well, I mean, it's the whole '90s vibe of WHPA, for me, just evokes a whole bunch of the trauma films, of all of those really campy, sort of cheesy, terrible effects movies, and that's sort of what I picture this whole WHPA game as, right? Like you're playing in these campy movies, these campy horrors, all these low budget films. So yeah, that's what I wanted it to be. I took all the demonic possession places and definitely racked my brain about like what would be the best like dairy style manifestations of like what could you do with evil cheese. That I spent a lot of time pondering that. And yeah, these are sort of the modern '90s places I thought it would be great to find it and how that affected people. So
well, that's the perfect segue for my next thing is the manifestations table. Dude, it cracked me up when I read gnashing teeth bitey. And I'm just like, dude, I lost it. How do you kind of balance the humor and tension when designing something like this? Because you obviously want people to be like, oh shit, but like kind of giggle a little bit on the inside.
yeah, I think you got to balance a little bit of humor with some, especially with some of the Cthulhu. So like it can get too tense at a table. That's one of the reasons I like WHPA is like it lets you kind of lean towards a sci-fi vibe or this weird demonic like the Cthulhu thing or evil thing that's clearly supernatural, and you don't have to worry about mixing those two if you want. But I went straight up just classic Catholic signs of demonic possession here, like straight out, straight out of the Catholic. All of those stories you'd hear about that were attributed to demonology were and demonic possession. These are what they could be considered signs of them. If we were in 900 AD and the Inquisition was looking, they'd be looking for people struck by this. Honestly, some of them alone, I wouldn't want to convict someone on because they could be like someone has a terrible allergic reaction to something, or someone that just has a disability, and like some poor old guy's deaf. Some poor old guy's deaf, and they're like demon. You're like, no,
Yeah.
he's just old. Like, no, that's not what happened.
Leave him be.
Yeah.
So another thing I thought was really neat that I think is kind of WHPA wide is the reward system. You have Price Crusher gift cards, and the station van, and what makes it like lean so heavy? Is it like into the perks, the weird perks, instead of like loot and XP?
Well, I think so. It's the WHP doesn't have that the XP mechanism, right? So, and I think your characters, if you play this for it, like you want to feel like you've gained something, or you're somehow more powerful or more effective, or have access to better resources. So, I definitely think a good station manager, as you're called in the system, kind of considers that when they're trying to reward players, like and making sure that people that you've assisted in the past. So you helped the park ranger, like you could probably call them and get a favor from them and make sure that they know that, or because that way when you're tracking the Sasquatch, they can loan you some bear traps or something, so it's just kind of, it's important to sort of do that. And I also think the interesting part about WHPA, like we're kind of like early or pre-cell phone time, so there is that importance of like sort of building a community and people and a good station manager can also use those experience perks if you're running a long-term game to also not penalize them, but as adventure leads, right? Like people they know go missing or something happens to them or they're not well, and you've got to figure that out. So it's also nice to kind of spread the players' tendrils through the community a bit. And I think stuff like this is the perfect way to do it. Make them regulars at the Price Chopper, or something tangible they could use. Because some clever player is going to turn a gift card to a grocery store into some ridiculous shenanigan of a plan to make something amazing happen at the table, and that makes it all worth it.
It's going to make you fall over laughing. You're just like, dude, how did you come up with that? And it's like, well, I had the Price Crusher gift card, and
well, they're like, first
I made it happen.
12 kielbasa links. You're like, wait, what? All right, where's this going?
Duct tape and kielbasa links, and we're good to go.
So it's just, that's the kind of stuff I think, especially a game like this that isn't as rigid as some sort of dungeon crawling game, that some of us who play, all those Dungeons and Dragons editions and all of its clones, that's very different than WHPA, which is free form. That's the other thing I tried to do, and I think is important to me with all of the adventures that we try to write, is that it's very runnable and playable. That it's sort of tried, like the attempt is to lay it out so that a DM could sit there and run it without any issues. Just start to kind of go without a crazy lot of preparation, and understand, what are they going to investigate? Oh, they're investigating one of these weird things that's happening at one of these locations. That's the start of the ball rolling. The players will find the rest. You can, make another one happen if they run cold, so they get more leads. But that way there's sort of some structure to it for the run. I think that's part of the hard part about a game like WHPA is running it, figuring out the structure. Even looking at some of the adventures and stuff that are out there, you look at them sometimes and you're like, wait, how do I get them to explore this? And sometimes that can be tricky. So I think there's a good one. There was a great one about a tiki bar murder mystery that I just read that was fantastic. And that gentleman is kickstarting another one, or backer kitting another one pretty soon, I think. But there's some good stuff out there that kind of adds some of that structure. If you're looking for this WHP game and you like it, but you're like, I need a little bit more walls, look for some of those adventures that are out there. Demon Curd, some of them, they're around.
They are,
and you'll see me sharing links to them too. So if you're into it, check us out on Blue Sky or Facebook or any of the social medias, and we try to share links to stuff like that, and to creators that we like and whose things that we enjoy ourselves too.
Yeah, I'll have to make sure I get links to all your social media stuff in the description. And folks, by the way, if you do want to back this, there is a link down in the description along scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So jump over and back this. There's 4 days left, I think?
We end Tuesday night, I want to say. This is the first run at a backer kit. So it's a sort of a, toe in the water with that one. So we'll see how that goes, but it has some mechanisms that if it keeps taking pledges, it won't shut off. So that's like the Lex Luthor computer virus dream and nightmare, right? Where it's taking the guys over, like, oh no, it got too big. But yeah, and like you said, I mean, you saw that was the last edit I sent you, that Dave has seen the PDF here, read it, and taken a look at it. And I think
it's amazing.
And I think like that was like one of our last edits. So all the corrections to that have been made, and like we had some layout tweaks, like shifting boxes kind of stuff. But it's ready to roll. If we hit our stretch goal, I'm super excited. I really want this to happen. Ben Grimes has some ideas for some.
Oh, nice.
Like a cheese shop, so you can vend some interesting cheeses that might have some funky effects for WHPA. From Dr. Metal himself. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, he's a blast to play with. I encourage you, if you ever get a chance to play with, Joey Royal, who wrote the game, or Levi Combs, like Rocky, with Ben Grimes, any of that crew that really they enjoy these games, and it's clear you have a great time. Half the fun of this game is making your host, which I think is a blast. And that's the other thing you find in here, actually, is sort of new programming focus for your TV show host, which is a sort of culinary or food-based host. So
the cheese whiz.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. That guy, like the Seinfeld character, that the whiz, I'm the whiz, right? You could just lean into that sort of, make it weird, make it fun.
Oh man. So the other thing I was wondering, I mean, for me, I think at least for me, the Pizza Wizard as a location is an obvious homage to Joey. At least that's what I thought. At least the name of the restaurant. But between all the locations, like the ice cream truck, sheer excitement, stuff like that, were any of the locations kind of inspired by stuff you grew up around, or did you just kind of be like, I want to make this, this, and this, and have it in the town?
So a lot of like stuff that I end up mapping and things I see is either based on like somehow on places I've been and pictures I've taken, or things like that really sort of inspire me. So I tried to, it sounds awful, but I tried to like channel that 90s sort of industrial to commercial shift that some of those areas were making that I grew up with, that we bike the streets of, and get some of that going, and kind of try to feel that. And the Pizza Wizard is, it is all of those things. It's, an homage to Joey. It's an homage to my love of Dungeons and Dragons and everything around that. And also all of those sort of wacky pizza places of the 80s and 90s that we grew up with that were like, there was.
Yep. Oh man, that was such a, like, I feel so privileged to have grown up in the 80s and 90s without cell phones, where we just like would take off 10 miles from home on our bikes and our parents would never know where we were. We just had to be home by the time the street came on.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting dark. You got to get home. And
it's like, where did you go today? And it's like, oh, I rode my bike to Connecticut and I got back in time.
I was playing with Billy. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, meanwhile, you're hopping a train and
never done that, but no, oh man, we did that once and my friend fell and thank goodness he didn't go like under, because he tried to jump up and he completely missed the ladder and we were on the last car, thankfully, and he just wham down on the tracks. And
as you waved goodbye.
And I'm like, what do I do? So I jump off, hit this patch of rocks and just roll down, and it's like, oh
yeah,
man.
you gotta wait for a soft spot of grass. It's actually easier to go on the side if you get it, like just run straight at it. You just kind of belly plant on it.
Yeah, well, he thought he could catch it. I don't know if he thought he was the Flash or what he thought, but
there's a spot you could sort of on this cliff where I grew up, where you could take like your BMX bike and sort of hop it in if you timed it right. So
no, I would have wound up eating the side of the freight car.
You'd have someone on the pegs on the back, and you just whoop.
Oh man. I remember, it's funny you bringing up a bike and doing that. The first time I ever rode a mongoose, I had been used to bikes that had pedal brakes. So I'm riding this mongoose, not realizing the handbrakes were the only option to stop me. And I'm cruising down the street, picking up all the speed, and I'm on this little incline. And I go to pedal backwards to stop, and I'm like, uh-oh. Oh no, dude, I ate a wall on this house. I ended up splitting, and it's part of what this white stripe in my head is from eating the wall, and it like shocked my hair, because I was going so fast and I ate it, and I just went over the handlebars and drilled into this wall. And
you hear the color in your hair screamed, ah! Just retreated, never came back.
It's like, I'm leaving.
Oh
man.
Great.
So
you're supposed to bail from the bike. That's the trick. If you see danger,
I was determined to get those non-existent pedal brakes to work, and everyone's yelling at me, hit the brakes. I'm like, I'm trying.
Just spinning backwards.
Yeah, and my friend's like, he just got this bike too, and I just destroyed the front rim on it. He was so mad. He comes running up, and I don't remember because I was kind of probably concussed at the time, and
Disoriented.
he was so mad at me. He's like, "What did you do to my bike?" With a few expletives thrown in there, as a 10-year-old would, and I'm like, "Dude, your brakes didn't work," and he's like, "They're right here." So yeah, I was a smart kid when it came to riding like BMX bikes. I never made the same mistake again though.
Yeah,
So
change.
who was your favorite NPC to write out of all of them in here? And
In this one, oh, there's so many good NPCs in here. Like, I like quite a few. The whole crowd in the salon made me laugh and made me, sort of lean into it. That was sort of spent from like all those hours observing and watching people sort of at there. I like well, a lot of people that I do too are sort of based on someone I might know, so I don't want to like. There's something that I've seen, but I definitely like in this too, just sort of adding just enough information to kind of flesh out a character and give the station manager enough to like play with it. Like I love the guy who's like, no, he's like works in the salon, but he's an esthetician, right? And he would probably tell you, I'm an esthetician. Like wait, what?
oh man,
But it's just enough to sort of like have a good time with playing with some of these. I tried to incorporate some weird stuff that was fun to incorporate into it and doing it, like ending with the Tournament of Pizza advertisement.
yeah,
It's just a lead for another adventure, because your characters are going to be like, well, what is that Tournament of Pizza? And that's a great something
yeah.
for someone to run for
Yep,
the next
it
time.
absolutely is. And the ice cream bars are another.
Yeah,
I'll leave
true.
that. I'll leave that as a surprise for everybody rather than spoil that one. The ice cream is delicious in Fairhaven, though. It's you gotta eat it up real quick.
And that's like that feels like it's right out of Puppet Master or Phantasm, to all those like horror movies that you could just see it, like terrible claymation, like,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like looking up at you, it's like even the foaming at the mouth and everything. It's like you can just see that, and like I don't know. I pictured The Gate when like something out of that when I was reading it. I'm like, oh man, like that was one of the first things that popped into my head. Such a good movie too, and
yeah, I think and I have some advice too, just for anybody who's DMing or running something. If you have something anthropomorphized that the players would want to eat, don't have it react until it's been bitten, and having it scream, in pain, is definitely a way to terrify your players. Because nothing's freakier than the hot dog you're eating or something pop into life as you're about to bite it.
you just look down and see an eye coming out of the hot dog, and you're like, yeah. Don't eat me.
That's funny. I went to what is it, Wolf Meow in Dallas, and Jason Bronkowski was like, "Oh, you should go. It's fantastic." So I went there, and then I was like with Rocky and his wife and my wife, and I snapped a photo and sent it to Bronkowski, and he sent me back the exact same photo, but it was like an anthropomorphized hot dog chilling in a pot, like a sauna on a stove, and it was just uncanny. We both took the same photo and sent it. It was ridiculous, but
that is awesome.
you find the people you vibe with, right? When you're like,
yeah, you absolutely do, and like especially in the indie scene, it's like It's
Yeah. It's
it just is, and it's so great. Like all the unique personalities in the not that they aren't there in like the bigger game scenes and everything, but the personalities really come out in this indie scene, and that's one of the things I love so much about it. It's
well, I think that's what you get is you get people who can sort of make truly what they envision and impassioned. They're not always shooting for this huge mainstream, like I want to sell to everybody. It's like, no, they want to show you this weird idea they had that they brought to life, and they want you to mess around with it and break it and play with it and have fun with it. That's the beauty of some of the indie publishing stuff.
really is.
I think
So
I for sure succumb to that because I write for a lot of different systems. And I think that because that's a lot of that is I get excited about. I like different systems, and it's fun to play in the Old West for a bit, and it's fun to, play in the '90s for a bit, and it's fun to play in the post-apocalyptic future for a bit. I think.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
not today.
I wish I could reach Patina, because I can't quite reach it from where I am to show people that cover. I love that cover.
And the Neon Lords, that one, that one was a blast.
That one I definitely can't reach. It's way back there on my shelf by the couch. So until I become Mr. Fantastic, I can't quite reach it.
That one was fun to do. And so you're right. It's a lot of different systems, but next one we have will be for Shadow Dark. I've got a dungeon that looks like it'll be probably 50-ish pages at the end. Once we've got some nice art coming that looks like it's going to be some half or full pages, so it'll look good. And some
awesome.
other stuff.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I get sucked into like, I should just keep adding a map or keep adding that. But same thing as all of our adventures. It is being written, and it has been written to be run. So nice and easy. Pictures of the map rooms right there where the DM would need it. So each one individually there, lined up with bullet points for the room, so you can snap through it like you spent hours prepping it, and no one will notice. It's the goal.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really love about having followed your work now for a few years, is seeing the progression you've made. Like I think I just lost the title. The Bat.
Yeah, so Jungle Incursion into the Lair of the Batman, and that was those two MCC adventures were kind of like a realization and shift that like to write some of these. Like I've read and played a lot of adventures, and still do, and I think that's the struggle. Sometimes you're like, wait a minute, like it's too hard for me to flip around between this stuff. And I think you'll see me, if you see me running one of those things at a convention or something, like I'm often just holding the module that I wrote, because that was the goal, was to make it so that you could hold it and flip the page and run that room and flip the page and run that room,
right,
without having to like bounce around or do crazy stuff to keep up. And I think we've just, since those MCC adventures, we've gotten much better at it too. It is, like you said, it's gotten, things have clicked, and like some of the layout has clicked, and how we want to do that to make it easy for players, and even adding stuff like the Shadow Dark has a numbered map for the DM, like this is where I'm bouncing around, and then has a player map that's unlabeled, so the DM, with any secret doors, if or when they exist, I don't know, just removed, so the DM could kind of show them some pieces without worrying about giving away too much.
Awesome. Yeah, watching the progression of your work has been so much fun, and kudos to you for all with the I think Jungle Incursion was the first one where you had the inset map, or not the insets.
I think it was the first one we did that with was Fire in the Mole, where we did and it was like a lab, and I started with all the lab rooms.
That's right.
That one too, I especially liked. We had done and I had drawn some of them, but they were like sort of like you were looking down the hallway or looking in the room when you got that. Dan Smith did some awesome art too, where you're like looking at the AI computer as if you're looking in the door. So those are just fun pieces of art that like you see, like the players like, what do I see? And you're like, well, here, take a look. This is what and then they go, oh shit, it's the break room. They make realizations when they see the picture that
Yeah.
they might not have, but it makes it fun.
And why is there a hot dog walking in the middle of
Yeah,
the room?
and MCC for sure. MCC too. I always wondered in as like a 12-year-old playing Game World. I was always like, well, why is there no bathrooms in this huge facility? And why is there no like kitchen? Like why are they missing the things they'd actually need to live here? So that I always make sure I kind of try to include some of that stuff in all of those things. Like some of the mundane can be the most fun and fantastic as well. So I think
Well, and it's like with older D&D, there were never bathrooms in taverns, and now you started to see more people incorporate bathrooms, like you were just saying, into buildings, because they're like, dude, you got to have a bathroom, and then you can turn the toilet or whatever into a mimic, or something. And I won't even go with where you could go with a restroom.
yeah. From Rappin' Ethics take on that to yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that.
So you said that the Shadow Dark stuff coming up is next. Any more cursed food stuff coming our way?
Not that I've spotted yet. We'll see if I get food poisoning in the next month or two. But I have the Rocky has a hex map setting it's looking pretty sickly awesome. About I don't give too much away on it, but it involves liches and some stuff like that and some northern wilds. But that's a really cool hex map one that he's just about there. I think he was about 80% there last time we were checking. I have a bunch of stuff for Shadow Dark written. So this dungeon, then my next release for this will be like I said, a 40 or 50 page dungeon, but that's part of a hex map setting that has at this point has about 11 dungeons of this size. Most of them almost all the way mapped. Some of them I've play tested the heck out of. Actually, most of them I've play tested the heck out of. But everything from a vertical dungeon that is a tree, a giant sort of redwood tree infested with some creatures to like this one here, which has the new sort of monster in the Shadow Dark one that I like to make up fun monsters that are like my weird nightmare fuel. So there's.
You do a fantastic job of doing so. So
I appreciate that. I hope I've had some of those creatures are very memorable for me. So I hope they. That would be the nightmare, right? Like you have one of those R.L. Stein pens or something that brings what you've written to life. I am in trouble.
Yeah, you're like, let's go now. Let's go.
Just run. Don't ask questions. I know it looks like a teddy bear. Just run.
Feet don't fail me now. So if someone's never played WHPA before, it really does seem like Demon Curd's a good jumping in point.
Yeah, I think yes, especially if we've never run as well, right? Like, so this one's pretty nicely laid out. There's some pretty cool like player handout kind of pieces that are newspaper articles, which at this point I was thinking about actually, because I know you saw them in there, but kind of putting in an appendices so that they're really easy for the DM to kind of photocopy or print if they wanted to do that from the PDF.
Yep.
So it can be easily, or because you could sort of do that, but you might have to do some scissor work if you wanted to save that. So I think I was going to alleviate that that was in one of my wish list edits that I'm going to put in there before I print. So, but like I said, those are just we're doing tweaks like that at this point, which is
Right.
a lovely place to be for any crowdfunding. That it's like at any point we could be like we are good enough at this point. It's just every time it's like anything we publish, you could just keep polishing forever and making it a little better, a little better, a little better. But at some point, it's ready. It's good.
Yeah. Well, plus if it's a little rough, that's another one of the beautiful things of like the indie scene, especially the zine scene. Yeah, that rhymed unintentionally. I am a poet. But
Yeah.
it's the kind of the roughness of it. Kind of and I know like with some things it's intentional how things will look like they're photocopied versus printed.
Oh yeah, and I think with font choice in this one too, the same thing. Like we were going for that sort of uh it looked like you and I did it on an MS DOS computer, word processing. like we
Yep.
wanted that feel to make it kind of so yeah. Even in thinking about layout and design, this one was sort of intentionally designed like that to kind of look a little rough. I think is how
Yeah.
Rocky.
Analog is a good way too of saying it's just got
Yeah.
that analog feel to it of like, dude, like you hopped into Doc Brown's DeLorean, jumped back, grabbed a game from back then and brought it back with you to 2024. And it's another thing that I think, even you can tell in the PDF that it's going to capture in the zine and that Joey captured with all the zines. And it's like, man, speaking
Yeah.
of, I can't wait for that book. I cannot wait.
That's coming pretty soon too.
Yeah.
That one has another WHPA adventure of mine, which is called the Maple is Running, which I also recommend. Same way, it's set up with some, maps that kind of help you put some guidelines and where to explore and a bunch of locations. Very similar in design to this one, so you can, players can figure out what's happening. But that one delves into the maple industry and what X-Tec might be doing to it. So there's some science in that one.
So it's probably a pretty sappy adventure.
Yeah, that one is definitely fun. That one this past ToboCon was a blast to play. We had such a great group. A lot of them have never played WHPA, but once you kind of give someone the premise, like, hey, picture public access TV. What's the crazy guy at 11 at night doing for his TV show? There's that 3 people might be watching, and give people a chance to kind of like think about weird hobbies. Think about people come up with some insane ideas for show hosts that, and I think if you as a station manager, you kind of encourage them to make their supernatural powers sort of match their shows well. You end up with just some amazing creative show hosts that make the game such a blast to run.
I have yet to get to actually play in a game. I would love to, and yeah, I'll just wind up running it. I've got this kind of curse cloud that, well, I can't say that. I'm kind of a forever GM. I do have a group I play with that I'm getting back into playing with on Friday nights. But one of my friends, she runs all the games, magnificent GM. But yeah,
toss her some WHPA. Let me know. We should plan a night if you got a group.
Yeah, or I could even run it just to have fun because I know I'm going to be in stitches running it, especially with the crew that I play with. The outlandish shit that they come up with is just like, oh man, no, I should not have given this to them.
Then that's when you just break it as the DM. You're like, nope, they're too dangerous with that. We've got to make it get broken.
Shattered. Sorry.
It's usually not that hard. The players create the opportunities for it to happen without the dungeon master or GM or whatever the station manager doing too much to help it along.
Oh man, gonna be fun. I can't wait for this.
like you gave them a jet by accident, it's going to end up crashed in the swamp, and that within a couple game sessions. So just
if not
ride it out.
rounds.
Yeah. Are you a pilot? No, but my cousin was. Like, don't think that's going to help you.
So I guess the last thing I would have is, when, with this being almost done, when are you expecting to get it into people's hands? If there's anyone that's out there, it's like, oh man, Kickstarters and backer kits take forever for people to ship. I don't know.
I think so. Silverblade has a history of delivering early. I think one that we delivered like in the month we said we were going to deliver.
Yeah.
It felt like we were late, but we really weren't. Part of that is our strategy is that, like, so this is, as I say, print ready to, like, I could push the trigger on printing tomorrow. So we're just sort of wait for funds to deliver, which usually happens within a week. Sometimes if I get antsy and we have the capital, it was just tax time, so this might not be relevant, but we will pull the trigger right away. So we're looking at printing. It'll likely happen within a week. Our current shipping estimate, as we'll be printing locally, was 2 to 4 weeks for them to finish, print, and ship. We've had good luck with the last printer that they've been faster than that every time. But from there, everything will likely ship out the weekend after they're in our hands, and I employ some child labor to stuff boxes and build boxes for me and get them out the door. So we're looking at a pretty fast delivery, just like everything else.
Yeah, and you always do. I think it was a Jungle Incursion that it felt like it closed, and the next day it felt like I had it in my hands.
Yeah, we so often when like our crowdfunding ends, you're like, oh wait, I just got when I'm like, all right, hurry up and send the survey. So like I just got the PDF, because you'll get it right away usually if there's issues. That's we try to address that quickly, but we're pretty good about that. We haven't had too many lost packages or anything like that. We try to pack in a bag and then pack in a box so that it's not all wet, torn up, etc. We are also enjoyers of RPG products as well as purveyors, so we understand what it's like to get a poorly packed or poorly. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I've gotten some stuff from folks that looks like Cujo had at it, and it's like, what happened? And I will say that for anyone out there listening, that Ian and crew have impeccable packaging and they get stuff out quick. So if you are on the fence, hop over to Backer Kit and back Demon Curtis St. Uguzo for sure, because it's going to be awesome. I've gotten to read it, and holy shit, like I said last night, I was sitting on my couch just cracking up at certain points. Like, dude, this is so phenomenal. And I'm going to have to run it just so I can put my own little spins on things and have people be like, dude, what is wrong with you? It's like,
you can blame those parts on me, even if it's yours. But yeah, that's the goal, right? Is to create a sort of skeleton framework that you get to add your personality to make hopefully an awesome time. So
yeah, it will be.
Likely if you backhoe, probably I'm hoping to be shipping by the end of May, at the latest, but because I'd like to start a Shadow Dark Kickstarter, like I said, right after that one will be ready, and I'll have that one going from there, probably end of May to June, and we'll be this one will be out the door before that one's even gathering dust.
Wow, that's crazy. I love it, because I think that is such a great approach, and more people are getting back to it. I think folks kind of veered away from it for a little bit, of having everything done before they do the Kickstarter. So you're not waiting. There have been some Kickstarters that I've backed that never delivered, that I've been waiting like 2 years for. And it's like, bro, what did you...
Yeah, what happened?
Have an idea and throw it up there and be like, I'm going to make some money, and then be like, to hell with it.
Well, I think people do. They they're not sure what it evolves, or they think they'll be able to pay themselves for it. Like, this is, Rocky and I, at this point, our goal is obviously to build our audience enough that we can make bigger and better things and, more profitable. But as long as we're not losing money, we're happy. So that's our, like, it's perhaps not the strongest of business goals, but that's our number one business goal, is just to break even. So sometimes we'll make choices for money for art and things like that some of those other publishers aren't thinking about, I think. So this gives
But
us
it
some
pays
freedom.
off.
Hopefully.
Like anyone that has never checked it out, I don't want to take the picture off the wall because it'll take me forever to get up. But Fantastic Geographic 2, was it?
Was which cover was it?
The one that Chet did, the one that
Chet was 3 with which was
that was 3. Okay, I was thinking that was 2.
That was the homage to the Unearthed Arcana that we had Chet do. That was like,
I had Arcana in my head, and I'm like in my head trying to come up with the name.
And that piece by Chet knocked it out of the park. I kind of explained to him what I wanted to do. There's a bunch of subtle jokes in there, and if you read that too, if you kind of if you read through that and then look at the cover, you'll spot references to other like pieces that are in that issue as well, just sort of like embedded in the cover, which is so cool.
I've noticed a couple of them, I'm sure, and I don't want you to ever tell me where they are because I want to find them on my own, but I'm sure there are a couple that I've missed, but I've found several that aren't popping into my head at the moment. But I'm looking at the picture. I've got the glare of my light going off it, so I can't be like, oh, like this, so. And
that's the other thing. Rocky is like, he's like, we need to drop another Fantastic Geographic, which we have. It's the crazy thing is Rocky and I think both just are, constantly writing, doing stuff, and like jotting down ideas when we're able. We have a lot of material, so I think we're pretty close to. We could quickly do that if it got in our crosshairs. So I think it'll be a matter of that happening. I'm hoping to go to Michigan to visit him this summer, which will mean we will end up with like 3 nearly finished products. Usually, if it's the way it usually goes,
that's crazy.
As soon as we get together, we just. Well, some of our adventures are like, we're at a convention. We get together, sit in a hotel room, and we just like create
jam
something
session
out that. Yeah, we'll come up with nearly finished stuff and at this point, like, we're experienced with the layout and things like that it is much faster. So it's a skill. The more you do it, the better it gets, hopefully, and the more.
And your guys' work is a testament to that. So kudos to you, because I love your work. I'll be there for every project I can be, and because I love your stuff. So
we appreciate the support.
And I think that's all I've got today, my friend. I'd love to have you stay on after and shoot the breeze a little bit more, but I don't want to drive anybody crazy with random conversation like here, just jib jabbing. And I've got some behind the curtain stuff I want to talk to you about that I don't know that you want to leak out yet. So is there anything we haven't touched on that you would like to?
No, like I said, I appreciate you helping this get out there. It was a blast to write and run, and I hope people enjoy it.
I know they will. And folks, if you haven't backed it yet, like I said, jump over to BackerKit. Search either. I always screw up the name. Silver Boulet. Is it Boulet or Bulette? I always
Silver Boulet, and you can
Boulet. Okay, if I'm gonna get it right one of these days and not have to ask you the name, because I have the memory of a flea. So
if you type in BackerKit Demon Curd, you're gonna find it.
You're gonna find it, because there's no other Demon Curd out there. Well, thanks for coming on, my friend. I'd love to have you back on for the Shadow Dark projects and
for sure.
All that, because your stuff is always worth promoting. And all right, folks, well, if you enjoyed our little conversation, be sure to give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel, and other than that, have an amazing weekend. And like I said, jump over, back this amazing project, and stay tuned for whatever else Silver Boulet. Geez, see, I screw it up I told you I screw it up every time. I'm never going to get it right. But thanks for joining us, and we will see you the next time.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. That's right.
Yeah.
All right.